All right, so just a little notation that this is the Global Heart Resonance Council monthly call, and we didn't start it in January because of the 7 days of rest. There was way too much going on for all of us. So we're coming in today as perfectly on the Chinese New Year, beautiful, and the Earth Pig, which is really about grounding this consciousness of who we are. And I personally have an affinity with the pig, very interesting, but a flying pig. So today we begin our soaring and our, the steepening into what we would like to bring forward in the new year. So Henry, I'm going to leave it to you to help to support that reattuning in with our intentions, specifically for bringing this voice of resonance forward.
So let's return to the breath. The breath in this moment. And the joining of our hearts. The joining of our intentions. Our connection with good of the whole. Our connection with that deeper resonance that's calling us. That's calling us to the new moon, to the new possibilities within our individual fields and the larger field. Opening to what is seeking to emerge, to awaken, to be birthed at this special time in our world. And we open to guidance from the unified field, from our collective presence, as to what is for us to take hold of and to ease into fuller expression. Returning back to our circle in gratitude.
Thank you. That was, and to the new seedings, to the new seeds that are being planted. Thank you. That was really gorgeous, Henry, and much needed to continue grounding as we experience the expansion of the frequencies, to continue grounding. So welcome, Michelle. Henry just did a beautiful reattunement, helping us to really ground the energies from this morning and focusing on new possibilities and what is emerging in this field itself. So I just wanted to open this up 1 second so I can. So, so welcome, everybody. We're here as a collective whole to deepen into the resonant field and really listen for what is our intentioning as we move forward, that this is really the beginning of something very new. We've never gotten on monthly. We did kind of sparsely in the beginning, but now I feel there's a real stronghold, and I want to hold in this field Danama, who wanted to be with us who's sick, and help me if I'm missing someone. And I also want to hold in the field Victoria and Linda, who really came forward during the 7 days of rest. And Linda held the space. She had a new baby, really as voices of the resonance, bringing resonance and understanding resonance forward. Julie as well, who's with her daughter. Am I missing anybody? And Oriana's with us, and she's, may talk, but she's coughing and sick, and so we're holding her. Thank you for showing up so beautifully here. All right, am I missing anybody? If I am, I apologize. Moving into the slipstream of expression of resonance, I really wanted to invite everyone. There is a couple of new seeds in happening this year, and I think some of us have already communicated that. One being, we want to shift the themes for the introductory resonance call, the Monday morning one so far, to support people having a deeper experience of the field itself, of resonance, of wholeness. So we want to just talk about, and I have an idea about how to do this, but open to each and every one of you. And I think that we want to just have everybody bring their voice forward and just share what's moving for you in terms of resonance. We want to say hi to everybody. So that's the first thing. And the other thing which I'll talk about is this shift in focus to the children. And I want to explain that. And I think we had on our mentoring stewards call, I'll bring some of that information forward because Julie and I talked about it. Something came through this year that was so powerful, and want to invite your expression and feedback around it. So I want to explain a little bit of how this focus on 10 million children feeling valued and connected as a part of Good of the Whole's voice going forward. And in that, however, the resonance, however we hold it as a collective. So with that, let's just open it up, and if we can just keep our shares, to 2 minutes, maybe inclusive is what are the key, like if you think of resonance and bringing this thing forward, what are the key pieces for you that you feel are important for us to support other people in this experience of growing resonance, and eventually maybe resonance circles, being a part of facilitating their own resonance circles. So I pass the talking Buddha today. Jump in.
Hello, 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 hello. What I have learned during my own practice and teaching during the last 20 years. Is introducing the context. It's like the framework. You may call it a structure, but it's really where we are coming from. And saying that, something that I've been using is to introduce the process of creation from egoic center and the wholeness center. One way you may say it, creating from the mind or creating from the heart, from the wholeness. Just, it's been really a big challenge for me, even when I've been teaching co-creating with others, that I have noticed there's been this discrepancy and challenges, and what I have learned from that if we don't create a context, it's like I realized that it's like coming from, it's like something is broken and needs to be fixed, you know. It's like the more of the ego-centering from without to within, you know, versus from within to, it's like coming from a place that is either survival, comfort, you know, romance, control, whatever it is there, or just getting to the top of the ladder of success, making it, you know, willful making it. All those places that the consciousness can arise from, versus saying the sacred yes. The sacred yes is totally it's totally different from the other perspective, the egocentric, which it just is, I surrender. I ask for guidance, and this or whatever is the best for the whole, for the greatest of the whole. So it's totally two different paradigms. People need, because that's our mind is our tools. That's where we are. People who are not not connected to the field, they need their mind to have some tools to give them the freedom and access to drop to that now, not knowing, to go beyond the mind. I am complete in this moment. Thank you. By the way, just one word for that. I used to call it education of the heart. And I did call myself educator of the heart. Yeah.
I'll go next. Good question. So for me, I had a realization last night that I feel like, maybe it's not accurate, maybe it's subjective, but my role in Good of the Whole is as an activist. And what I mean in a sense, the Good of the Whole is an activate, you know, we're trying to activate something new, some shift and some change. So kind of basically, I feel, and from at least where I'm coming from, that there is a need to get greater clarity on what we're doing so we can share it, to have the fundamental principles of the resonance circle, what we've been experiencing, and to delineate it in a clear and simple way so it can be shared. And for me, so the children, taking the children by itself, and what you're saying, the initiative, what we need to educate is the parents, is the adults. We need to educate the teachers. We need to educate all of those that are involved in connecting with the children, so we're able to see that value within them. So I really feel a strong need, and we don't have, to even support ourselves in facilitating this circle, to focus on the fundamental pillars of what we're doing, what the we space is, what the united, unified field, all of those things, to be able to share it in as concise and clear a way. That is the way we plant the seeds. That is the way we will share what we are doing. So anyway, so that's part of it. I'm also seeing, or had the realization last night as well, that just calling ourselves stewards or mentoring stewards, I think we're limiting ourselves. We're limiting the effects that we can take. Because when you think of a steward is kind of a caretaker. It's kind of holding the energy. I believe we need also the energy of creators or co-creators. So stewards and co-creators. So we take that step and we share. We're activists. We're activating. We're sharing on a larger scale in the world and finding ways to do that. So those are kind of basics of it, or even seeing ourselves as mentors or co-mentoring, and I'm still not sure on understanding what that means and how we're doing that. But also mentoring isn't that act of co-creating principles, of sharing, of teaching, mentoring is more kind of a presence where you sit and listen to what is happening, or maybe it isn't, but I'm seeing that both of those terms that we define ourselves in may be limiting ourselves. And a last piece I want to share is about, it's kind of, and I'm still not fully understanding it, but with the Damanhur and Falco, they have a game that's called the game of risk. And it's kind of an interesting thing, but the part of that I want to share is that it's developing strategies. And I still don't fully understand it, but it was said by someone who wrote a book related to Falco, was that he was able to hold simultaneously in his consciousness, in his mind, 14 different strategies, different alternative strategies, to find different ways of being able to move forward and opening to different impulses, but not just, for myself, I find myself, it's more like one or two, either do this or not do this, but rather looking at a larger picture of different strategies of what we can do and opening to those possibilities. So I feel complete. Those are kind of the basics of some things I've been thinking about.
Good morning or afternoon, wherever you are. Wow, that was brilliant and really touching on a lot of things. So first of all, I I'm excited about the focus on the children. That's my main passion area. But I have to say, just to be fully transparent, when I read that, I thought, another focus? What are we really focusing on? And I guess maybe as I think about Good of the Whole, it's not one focus. It is many focuses, and we get to figure out where we can be the motivator, maybe, or the, I don't know what the right words and terminology are either. But I loved really the steward. I think that's true. I think the steward is a limiting functionality, and it has an energy to it, and I think of it more as a caretaker. So that was a really good observation that I hadn't really put time thinking about, that terminology. I just accepted that terminology, I guess. And so I think there is something to be said about those words, because as we've all learned, they matter. So I don't know what that word is, and I also loved the idea of developing multiple strategies that people can then resonate with. And what I've learned is that I am a strategizer by nature, so I have lots of strategies going through my brain all the time, and I struggle with narrowing it. So I actually like when they're more narrow, but I really resonated when you said that we needed to have multiple strategies, and then people can have options, because not everybody strategizes. Some people like to choose an option, and I think that's what is really important. And when you're doing something as big as Good of the Whole, which to me, I think of it as like the world, holding that energy to expand, it's huge. And so some people are really comfortable holding that mass, that hugeness, but others really need to have it made smaller so that there's easy options to choose from. And I don't think it is an either or. I think it's a both and. And so, even as, it just kind of came to me as, I'm trying to strategize at the same time as I'm talking. And it really does almost come down to similar to like Barbara Marx Hubbard wheel of co-creation. It's dividing and conquering. It is about finding what you're passionate about, finding the group that strategizes around the children, finding the group that strategizes around economics, that strategizes and comes up with those options that we could choose from. Not have been a part of all the planning stuff, so I'm sure there's more depth than what I'm aware of. I'm sure of it. And, I'm not part of all those calls, but how do we, how does it become easy to access? How does it become quick for us who are doing what we're doing to go on and go, I've got 3 hours today. What am I going to do? So that's kind of some of the things that I'm thinking of, but I thought it was articulated very well, both in the, teachers of the heart, educators of the heart, and then also just really having some more strategies that are easy to attach to. And I am all about, I say this often to many parents and to many children. It's like the children already are wired for the future. They are wired for it. Our job is to teach them the world that they were born into. Their job is to decide what they want to keep and what they want to change. I say this to Oliver probably every third day. And he's like, yes, Mom, I know.
Okay, will you just repeat that slower, because you said that really fast. So just invite us all to just kind of breathe with that.
Yes, yeah, I will. So let's think of those children. And let's think of the world that we live in today. And certainly as each of us were raised, in the generation we were raised, we were taught to, or at, most of us, Most of us were told how we're supposed to live, and we started adjusting our being to fit into that teaching. But we all had our journey, and we realized now that we actually had to rediscover ourselves for what we were born to do. But we have that knowing now. And so with the children, we empower them to own what they know and to not let the world take that away. But our job is to teach them about the world that they live in. So this is the piece. We teach our children about the world they were born into, what we know, what we helped create, what we inherited. And then we empower them to own that which resonates with their inner being and their inner knowing, to hold on to which is valuable for them, for the world that they know they're supposed to live in and create. And the rest they can shift and change, and they can create what they already are wired to do. And dear God, may we stop taking that away from the children that come into the world. We all know how much work it was for us to rediscover ourselves. So let's try and help these kids not have to rediscover themselves.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Forgive me, June, I'm going to jump in because this is really, really important for this group and the time that we have here together. So thank you for that. Thank you so far, Henry and Nahid. Beautiful. I want to clarify something because this is really important. And maybe I started it and I needed the clarification by just bringing up that picture. Number one was I sent out an email asking everyone to watch last week's Mentoring Stewards so that everyone could get on the same page. But and I think there is a real mashup happening, and this so the Mentoring Steward call is for this voice that has been spoken to right here, right now. Issues about mentoring stewards, calling us mentoring stewards, issues of the children, issues like what just got brought forward, powerful. But that is the Mentoring Steward call.
Yeah, are you talking about coherence?
What?
Call or something else?
I'm talking
Are you
about
talking about Mondays or
the Wednesday call. Sorry.
Okay, the coherence call.
Because this is really important, because I've been noticing, and Julie had been noticing, that there's been this and confusion, and it's fine. We need to clarify. The strategies are happening on the global coherence call for the general demure of good of the whole. That's where this kind of communication needs to go, because that's what we're doing on the Wednesday call. We're defining who good of the whole is, what we're doing, and all this beautiful stuff. And the piece of the children came up. I mean, amazing. And the strategies, the general strategies, I'm trying to do my best here. The general strategies are the global coherence call. Okay, that's where your voice is needed. This call, and what's been happening is on the global coherence call. Obviously, it's not about the resonance. We experience the resonance, we bring it into the call, but it's about the strategizing and the redefining and how we want to be called and what's our voice going forward. This particular call is, and this is great, we're doing this, and I want to hear your voice inside of this too, even if you feel uncomfortable, or this is, even if what I'm saying to you doesn't make sense or isn't right or whatever. This call is about our focus on resonance, our focus on education of the heart, our focus on how do we bring forth and clarify and help people to understand this particular experience. We talked about creating a series of videos. So the people on this call are coming here specifically to talk about, to understand, to deepen, for the people, for the ones that have been the resonance, we'll call it just for right now, the resonance holders, or we can change resonance stewards. I don't think that matters. We can definitely change that, whatever we want to be called as the resonance council, and what this specific focus is here. So I just want to really clarify that because and even Henry, just going to speak to this, like, your voice is about resonance, at least from everything I've heard on those mentoring stewards calls. Be clear that that call isn't to be talking about resonance circles. That's what we want to do here. If we want to like create resonance circles and help people be facilitators of those circles, this is the lens or the aperture that we're working in here specifically. So I'm really glad this is all amazingly moving. But I wanted to be clear, like, our hour and a half together once a month is to go, okay, as resonance stewards or whatever we want to call ourselves, what are we wanting to create here? And obviously it is for the parents, it is for us, to support exactly what Michelle was talking about, that we want to create and I love the word framework. Thank you. And I'm very clear about myself. I'm not great at framework, but I'm willing to listen, so we want to create the framework of how to bring people into this resonant field and get it in a way that's simple and nurturing, and they want to participate and they understand. Because I will tell you, and then I'll be done. I've gotten on this week and the past 2 weeks with, all these different organizations, Unify and United Earth, and they're all getting together, talking and coming into this greater synergized network called SIGN. And the most amazing thing to me is I've watched how they hold meetings, and it's horrendous. I mean, I don't even want to be. Julie doesn't even want to be on those meetings. She's being on them because it's important to create this greater unification but I see this particular circle. We have this amazing opportunity to seed the field, and that's what this call is about. So I hope I've been clear, and please feedback and share. But let's help ourselves understand, if you what this call is about. So I love you. Thank you.
Okay, this is Michelle. I'm going to jump in. That clarifies a lot for me, Shelley, because I was really confused because what you sent out. And so this might be just a little bit, and I don't even know if it's, what I realize is I struggle. So actually a resonant steward, that makes sense for what you just described. That is our job, is we are meant to be the stewards of the resonance call, and we're coming together to figure out how we can both do that, be a steward, and to push it out there and work on it. I guess I get confused and now I have a lot more clarity from your explanation, but when I get the emails and stuff like that, there is a lot of crossover. So today, that email that was sent out for us to come in, there was, about, and maybe it was just because you wanted to educate us about empowering the 10 million children, but it was very confusing. So I thought that's what we were talking about. So now I understand that it's about, how do we improve and expand the heart resonant calls on Monday? That's specifically what this Global Heart Resonant Council call of today is about, if I understand that correctly and got it. All right. So now it makes a lot of sense to me. And all the stuff that we were talking about earlier would be beautiful on Wednesday calls, it sounds like. So let's reel in and let's figure out what we can do to expand and really be intentional about the Monday heart resonance calls. And I have to say I'm confused. So I have confusion there too. So so I am guessing, so we aren't intentionally focusing on children for the heart resonance call, but maybe we want to have a particular theme each month or an idea for or however, if we have it free flow, but there's still a focus for each week. And it's really about how do we help others tap into that field of resonance, and also how do we expand the group so that there's more people on each call. am I getting it now?
Yeah, it's basically how do we create the framework going forward for the heart resonance calls, and we want to hear from June, but I my thought, and we can go around after June, and if Oriana wants to speak now that we've kind of clarified this. And thank you, because I think it was just that part of me that felt like I needed to have everyone kind of feel it. There was so much excitement about the children piece on the Wednesday call that I felt like I wanted to share that. But you're right, I will now stay clear of that and just keep it focused for us. So yeah, we're just looking to create the framework for this year to what is it that we would like to see happen with the heart resonance. Yeah. And yes, and thank you for sharing that you're still confused about the Monday, because that's something here. That's to bring forth here, because, oh, wow, look, there's confusion. Let's get it clear. What do we need to clarify? Listen to the field to help clarify that. And then maybe begin to break down our steps, because we can't have 10 different things go. We want to all be on the same page. So, and the only thing I'll just throw in, the only thought I've had going forward is that we have a monthly theme, and within that monthly theme, because that'll keep us all on track in a much more simple way. So as an example, Michelle, you started out with the pause on January, that first week in January, and then then Henry brought in wholeness and the pause with the wholeness. So how can we make it simple enough so that we get everybody in that call moving and undulating in a way that deepens, and they'll know how to invite people? Because I think part of the confusion is they're just coming on, and it's a different topic every week. There's no context, which is what Nahid was talking about. So we have begun, because we have the a couple of documents, but we need to, maybe just a thought, we need to pull up those documents, and how can we create an outline maybe for going forward so that we're all on the same page, and it feels like, wow, that broader yes is people are getting it. Oh, this is my next step, and so forth. So I'm complete.
There we go. That really helps me to get back on track, because I've felt and wanted, even though I haven't necessarily been really good at speaking it, but my feeling has been that we create this framework, or whatever we want to call it, on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, where we literally invite people in to touch and to taste and to become able to go into resonance. And so by what we set up, we can teach people, instead of they're thinking, well, I don't know how they got there, or I don't know what, or we're jumping around to different things. It's if we can stay with a topic, as we did, of education of the heart, of a flow. What if we stayed with something several weeks in a row until it became so clear because of what we brought forward in terms of what it looks like, what it feels like, what stops it, what opens it. I think people are really wanting and needing to learn how, first, what is resonance, how to go into resonance, and how to trust themselves in that space. And so that's what I really am interested in our creating. And I really think we have to have a framework to do that, and find out what are those elements of resonance that we need to put out there and practice and show what it looks like, what it feels like, both in it and out of it. So I'm all for our doing that kind of a creating of teaching and showing and whatever we can do to help people move into that space. So I'm complete.
Let's just check. Oriana, do you want to try to speak, or are you just listening? I guess she's listening. Yeah, thank you. I feel like we're honing in. And when you were speaking, June, it reminded me of what Henry shared in the resonance call today. Remember he was talking about Damanhur and the 5 elements. You know, like and I love that. What are the elements? And how I would say it is to maintain the space of resonance, so that to by being, it's interesting. Maybe I'll pull out. I've written a whole chapter in my book about resonance, and I think this is our job, if you want to call it a job. This is our job as a council, is to find the clarity in what are the most important elements. Let's say even if we just took 6 elements, or maybe there's 12, I don't know, but what are those most important elements that we see? Like, as an example, we've been mentioning it: education of the heart, resonance, wholeness, flow. What are those themes? Maybe we could just go around, unless there's something and just pop. What are the themes that you feel have been important to your life, that has helped you stay in that resonant field? Henry mentioned some this morning, and obviously right now that Monday call is meant to be there so people can have the experience of resonance. I mean, I think, experience resonance, embody it a little bit more, learn to express from that resonant field, and maybe I'm just playing, execute their life from that field, like, so that they can feel that they're not, I think it was brought through this morning really well, that they're not leaving that experience when they're interacting with whatever, a circumstance, or, any circumstance, any person, so to speak. So, and for me, the thing that I learned with Barbara Marx Hubbard was that, the resonance is the vital force, is the generator that has to be, I don't know what the exact words are, but that creates the vibrational field for each of the sectors. Like, for me, it's not about the sectors. Like, that's not my role. I'm very clear. It's about how to have people experience this resonance that they can take into any meeting, any business meeting, any church meeting, and actually create the conditions for the experience of the heart, and notice what the difference is when they do. Because, like I said, I mean, there's all these spiritual people and they're all over the place. I even watched the first day of United Earth in New York City and watched John Raymer, and it was just like, really? Are you, it just, like, you could feel there was a lot of love there, no question, a lot of intention, but that sense of the tactile experience of the presence, the presencing. So anyway, I'm complete. Just pop in.
I would like to add something to what you said. When you were talking, Shelley, what came forward is owning the wholeness. Owning the wholeness. When you were talking about the 6, 12 elements. So what is a must for me, and I learned in my own practice and holding this space for others, is safety and trust of their space. It is really, I would say, if there is only two elements, it would be safety and trusting a space. Because only in that space, the mind would allow to drop the wall, the defense, the separation. And there is something available. There is a possibility there, not before that. And something else that was present is, this has been my own inner journey, personal journey, is inclusion of the body. The body, the embodiment of the wholeness. As a scientist, I always have run after my mind. So, and that has been the separation world that I have lived for 50 years. So it's like to introduce the context. It's like where we are standing is like what Michelle was saying about the children, that everything is already well. We are that. There is nothing to be fixed, but it would be the space of the experiencing. And that safety and trusted and bringing the whole awareness. I call it awareness of the heart, really, because when we get to the flow of the feeling, then we are in here, nowhere else. We are here in the body, and inclusion of the body. I am complete now. Thank you.
So for me, at least how I see it, a perspective, perhaps subjective of where I'm coming from, is we need to simply articulate the different elements of the heart resonance, whether it be safety. For me, I would say kind of honoring each member of the circle, or there are other ways of putting that. But I really feel we need to, and so I put up somewhat as an inquiry of, I'm very interested in helping to participate. I don't think it's something that just one person can do. To articulate in a simple form, and even perhaps to translate that to someone who's working with children. So how would this be on a scale of a teacher? And how can we help that honors, that creates a safety space or trust within different contexts? So for me, it's being willing, or those people who feel moved to step forward and do that. As for just briefly, the coherence call, I find that half of the time, over a third of the time, is spent with check-ins. And even when ideas are put forward, I wasn't able to make the last two calls, so I wrote a number of things that came to mind as possibilities and alternatives, including maybe having a heart coherence day annually, or 4 times a year doing a heart coherence. And maybe, one of those 4 times, what came to me after you put out about the children was maybe having a heart coherence day, perhaps on the solstice or equinox, a heart coherence day for the children. Or getting themes that that focused like that. But anyway, I have a few sheets, and I listened to the recording from two times ago, the coherence call, and Julie put some of the ideas. She didn't put it fully forward in there. And I don't know if there wasn't time, but there wasn't any follow through, and people on the call didn't other people didn't really even respond to some of those suggestions at that time. So I also feel like there isn't necessarily a coherence from one call to the other. We don't have note keepers. We're not necessarily in the mindset, in the heart set, in the body set of having a continuity of consciousness with different things that are put forward, and having more of an activist or an action-oriented kind of call as well. So maybe this is too much, but I'm just kind of putting forward some thoughts. Maybe some of them aren't accurate or fully accurate.
I just so thank you, Henry. I'll just respond a moment to that. So part of the reason that happened was because both Julie and I were going like, wait, that doesn't even belong on, again, it's getting clear what these calls are, that stuff, a coherence day, let's just say we were doing a heart coherence day, that would come from this group saying to Julie or this is what we're doing. This is what we want to put forward. So I think this is really helpful, and I can talk to Julie. And the other difference is, I've been totally focused right here for years, and that's my piece. So when you're talking about the heart or the global heart, anything over there, it actually just needs to all be right here, so that because here you're going to get the support. Like, let's just say you want to start a heart resonance circle. I think what we're understanding is, let's get the base, before we go into any global coherence day, let's get the baseline understandings, the elements, what is important, how do we describe resonance, before we go take it out to a bigger audience. I think this is what I can see this being the next month or two of our experience, at least. And so anyway, I apologize for your having those feelings, but I think it was because, the coherence call, as I understand it, is really about the actioning. Okay, we're going to do fundraising. We're going to, and the structure of good of the whole. That's Julie's, that's not me, and I've been very clear to stay out of, I'll come in and do the resonance for that call. But Julie's got to take, she's getting clearer too about that. So my, respectfully, I would say to you, as you're having the things that you're describing, for the most part, belong over here on this call. And we'll support you, because we have an amazing, what hasn't happened yet in that mentoring steward piece is that the foundation hasn't really dropped in, let's just say it that way. Even with the name mentoring stewards, right? Because you're all having that feeling. So, but over here, I believe, like I experience, there is a solidity. When we did the 7 days of rest, and everybody participated in whatever fashion that they felt they could, or even couldn't, they showed up. I mean, I want to honor each and every one of you. It was amazing, because I went, oh my God, the foundation is in place. We can now, find out what those elements are that we feel as important for people to understand, and we can put them into place, and we can create the documents. And there may be, each individual might focus on different aspects, but I feel like that's what's happening, that the organism itself is asking Nahid, June, Michelle, Danama, Henry, all of us who get it so deeply. I can even see John Brockett. He came in today. Last week was the first time he ever came in, but he gets it. You can feel it. So I feel that we have a foundation here. So, if you need clarity, I don't necessarily will have all the answers, but, you know, definitely come here for the resonance first. And, you know, I think what's going to happen is, especially after Julie being in New York City, she's going to come back. You know, she was the one who brought the, well, no, actually, it wasn't just her. It was our conversation that brought forth that statement. But it doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of strategies. It means simply that where Good of the Whole is going to be the greatest influencer is from making sure that we can be voices, just as Michelle described. So I'm going to just type that up because that was incredible the way you expressed it, is that we have to understand what our role is, the greater role. So that's, you know, the Wednesday call is that greater role. And here, we're here to really create the foundations for the resonant field so people can start to experience and embody and really feel into the, you know, why we show up. Why have we shown up for 7 years? Right? I mean, 7 years, we've shown up almost every single week. Why? You know, why do people get on that call and they start crying? Or why do they get on for I mean, John Brockett, one call, just a mention from Julie, I think you would like this call. One call and he is all over it. So we have it, it's speaking. Now we need to articulate it. So thank you everyone for showing up, and I'm complete.
I want to say something here. I was leading a call yesterday. It's the circle, I call it Freedom of the Heart. There are people from Europe and Iran, and it's in Farsi. They're maybe kind of my students from the past, and some new people. So what you just said about crying, I found myself, I've been in bed for 2 weeks. Really, since last Monday, I've been in bed with a strep, with a congested lungs and all of that. No energy, going through a strong antibiotic, and just like dead, like no life force. And it's interesting talking about the flow today. And I think this is the service we are serving ourselves. We are serving ourselves. I am clear about that. Yesterday on the call, I mean, I had no energy to talk, but out of my commitment, I showed up because I was moving and I was sick. I didn't show up for 2 weeks. That was the 3rd week. And then the moment that I see all the faces and I am connected to the field, I am the one in tears the whole time. And after, when I went to the mirror, I said, oh yeah. So, and you said the other person was crying, was all over. But I'm saying that our own openness and state, being in the field, that really created resonance. I mean, when I came, there was a conversation that I had, and all of a sudden I caught myself. It's like I didn't know where that life force was coming in the conversation. I couldn't speak. I mean, I was just gradually, I was having my voice back. I mean, this source of energy, life force that was coming through me and was communicating, is like, that was lots of healing for me. Just being to be willing. And I have to say that for years, especially on the virtual aspect, the internet, I have been withholding, but it's like I have more freedom when I am in the physical space with people, that to really let it go, and be the resonance in the field. I don't know, this needed to be spoken, and so I'm complete with that.
Let's hear from June. June, do you want to share anything?
Yeah, I was just really moved by what Nahidis is talking about, because it's so deep a need, and what I see that when I help create it with others, it invites others in, and that is the vulnerability, the ability to come forward in these groups, and rather than I mean, it's great to say how wonderful flow and all those things are, but we need, no, we don't need. What would be wonderful is that the more experience of vulnerability and to really help others to step in to explore those topics that might be, they're afraid of being judged, or they're afraid of not knowing how, or any of that. When they can see our vulnerability and the places where we have in the past and still do have difficulty, that I think opens the door to their willingness to step in and learn and feel and be empowered by resonance. So that's what was up for me in the moment. Thanks.
So it sounds, I mean, we are all on the same page, and I think we all resonate with everything that's being said here. But for me, then now it's really about the action. Like, how are we going to do this, right? So it feels like we have to have more discussion about the action on this particular call. And the thing that pops in my head is there's the common themes that rise. What is it that brought us to heart resonance? What did we have to learn when we first started calling it heart resonance? What did we learn, 7 years ago when we started doing this, or whatever state we started doing it, more consciously, and maybe pulling out some of those words and they become our themes. I don't know if it's a different theme each month or a different theme every other month. I don't know the depth of that, but maybe if we start generating some words, we can come up with some themes that we can all then layer upon. And, so we're having that focus of the theme for the month. So I don't know if we can do that if we have time right now. I don't know what our timeline is. If we want to throw out some words or somehow, start a circle of emails or whatever it is to get the words, flowing so that we can actually have a theme. So, we're now in February, we should have a theme for February. And personally, I think the ideal would be that we actually come up, if it's the 6 or 12 themes for the year, and so that we're all percolating on those already. And they're even listed as, that energy is already in there it's already being placed in the field. Each week you can see what's going to happen in January and February and March and April, just even if they're short sentences or one word. And then we get to layer on that, because when those who are going to join us read those words, we get a deeper energy of what to call forward, right? It's connecting us. So anyway, so on that, there's, how we want to get that flowing. I'm happy to record some words if we want to throw them out, or I'm happy to throw out some words if you want me to get it started, or however seems to make sense.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to grab this because I've actually been listening very deeply to everybody, and I've been like circling words all throughout our call. So yeah, I think this is our action. I also want to just share that what I'm hearing will become some type of curriculum, because it's exactly, because this is in a way, it's the road to resonance, however you want to, it's the building of the coherent field that others can join in because they feel that. So let's just do that, Michelle. I think, and then the other piece was I wanted to talk about what is the best way for us to communicate. And I wanted to put forward a couple of things and we can make it that decision. So why don't we just go around and what's popping for you? What are those words? Michelle, you're going, why don't you just pop in, and you're on mute, by the way.
Well, I will just throw a couple out. I too have been writing down lots of words in this because it's, again, my strategic mind can't help it write lots of words. But for me, when I think about, the road to resonance, when you're unfamiliar with it, your first step is to listen. And listen to learn, maybe, or listen and learn. Listen to learn. I'm just going to throw that one out there. I have lots of words here, but I think it's good if we kind of try and layer on that each person. So.
Just pop in. Everyone take yourselves off mute and pop in when it comes to you.
Follow
Yeah.
your heart.
Oh, go ahead.
Follow your heart.
So no judgments, just pop it because they'll form themselves right now.
Mm-hmm.
Safety and vulnerability.
Loving presence.
For me, it's really based like, what is the field? What are we talking? You know, like people always ask it's the very first thing. Like, what is this field?
Feeling the feelings. That is the field.
Well, we're not trying to define here. Just kind of we're just popping.
What I'm saying, it could be one of the topics. It could be one of those 612.
Right. I didn't hear what you said.
Feeling the feelings.
Oh.
Creating a field. Could be a theme. Speaking from essence may be an important topic to consider in the field. Or speaking from the heart, those are two that you express, Shelley, in your writings about it. I'm still not fully clear on whether they're both the same.
Will you repeat that, Henry? What are the two things? Speaking from the heart or
speaking from essence.
Oh, speaking from essence and
speaking from the heart. Sometimes you say also speaking from the center of the field or speaking to the center, and I still don't fully understand that, but they're kind of interesting things that I'd like to consider, or when we figure out the best way to communicate.
So what Michelle said about listening, maybe if we would put it together, it would be heart-centered listening.
Or listening from the heart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of automatic when we listen from here. We are connected to the field and we speak from that place. Yes.
No, of course I have to add the pause for clarity. We always have to have the pause.
you have to have the pause.
Which you could also use the word silence.
Yeah.
There.
For me, the theme of wholeness and the theme of resonance, like specifically.
Also, somehow, the theme of non-judgment, that way of listening to take in, not to find fault with, but just to take in.
I don't know how you can add to this. It's like beyond the mind. Beyond the mind. Of course, when we talk about the mind, is the limited, is the ego, beyond the mind, because the resonance only can be experienced beyond the mind. It's not in the mind. So it's like, how would we bring people into that?
So perhaps another way of saying that is also heart wisdom.
It is, yeah.
So kind of understanding that heart wisdom. And I also add, but something that Nahid expressed before, body wisdom. So I'm not sure how that fits in.
They go together, really, yeah. Yeah.
I also think like noticing, I guess from noticing, it's just like that, like noticing those feelings, noticing the wisdom, just. And then another one was really, it's also, when to speak or. or, you know, just like that. What does speaking mean in these times? You know, we talk about deep listening, but what about deep speaking? You know, we haven't really talked about that at all, but there is a, and I don't know the real words, but speaking, I think, matters, or not speaking, depending on the.
You know, I like that. That's a really interesting piece that people don't talk about. And the way that I was hearing it earlier was like, and I'm not saying these are the exact words, but tracking the field, how to track the field, how to.
Yeah, that's how we used to talk about it. Yeah.
I'm not saying those are the right words, but
no, that's, well, and to me, even as we're going through this, because obviously this is loaded, we've got, you know, that I guess for me, it does seem like many of the people who are being drawn in, both they understand the field on a, you know, just kind of a sense of it, but in the participation of a group event of connecting in heart resonance seems new. So maybe it's, you know, it's like, okay, what are, you know, as I'm thinking about this, is like, how, I like the road to resonance, but I mean, even I'm just trying to even simplify it either, is like, you know, what's the group, you know, what's the group need in order for that to become a resonant field? What has to happen in that group for it to be, you know, consider a resonant field versus just a bunch of people sitting, you know, chatting together? You know, how does it become into that, how does it get to that elevated resonant field for a group, whatever it's called, resonant circle, or, but what are the very basic ones? Because that's what it feels like right now. A lot of the, I mean, when we bring in more new people, I think that's why we aren't gathering a lot of new people yet, is because we don't have that clarity around that, right? So in order to, we have to get really clear and real basic, like, okay, what is the most simplest form? If I'm going to teach this to a 5-year-old, what am I going to teach them? You know, I think we have to get that basic. Then we can add the layers around it, but we have to be so clear in that basic part as a group here. Then we can put the layering on it, and we can put the cute words around it or whatever to make it more playful, or however. But it's like, what is it that you actually have to hit the resonance?
Right.
What do we have to do?
I'm really liking that, because and I have a trouble, and sort of bear with me, because I hit what doesn't work, and it drives me mad sometimes. Like, what do we have to do to get people to stop using names of each other? Like, oh, Michelle, you did this. It was so great that you did. And it's not just Kate. I mean, I listened this morning, and it was like endless people, because as soon as you start using names, you take, and whatever the word is to help people have that be a theme, to get how the energy shifts. As soon as you say, oh, you know, when June said this, you actually, everyone's experience goes to focusing on June, the identity of June. So I don't know what that topic is, but I loved how Victoria brought in that the non-dual understanding, you know, because I think that is one of the most essential, like maybe these are essential elements to create resonance, because that is, like, this morning I was just going, and I loved, Henry, how you said, you know, breath, immediately just take a breath. If people were taking a breath, you're not going to go just, you know, oh, June or Julie, Julie just said, because that, I don't know how to, I need help with that. I'm so totally owning it, because anyway, I'm done.
Sorry. No, we all do, and we all do it at different times, and we, you know, I can, you know, feel myself retract when I do, but and retract when someone else does. I mean, I do, but maybe it's about creating that unified field instead of the individual field, right? So it's how to, you know, we talk about it as unified. So that means we're one being, you know, we're one thing. So we, you know, even it's creating that language of the resonant field, or I like hearing from the resonant field. I heard from the field. You know, we used to use that language a lot when we had that was the languaging that we used all the time. You know, before we opened it up to the global, which So that means we all learned it along the way, though, too. I didn't have that knowing in the beginning. So I think that's one of the ways, I think, is how, starting to use that languaging of right, the essential elements of creating that resonant field, and then using that, it's our responsibility to use that and hold ourselves accountable, right? To really go, okay, there's actually no people in this field. So I don't see Shelley and Nahid and Henry and June. I'm talking with, today I can in this call, but I think, you know what I mean? So if we can just start putting that on again for ourselves, because it was gone for a long time, it was gone, and it's re-entered, which means we have to teach again these basic elements. I really like that.
Right.
And then to me, it's listening, noticing, and trusting.
Okay.
So what are the other, what are the real basic ones that people feel? I don't know what other people are thinking.
So, okay. So, I'm just want to say we have,
right.
We have like 6 minutes or 7 minutes. And so, what I'm feeling is to just, and of course, if someone has something they want to pop in right now, but just to kind of breathe with this, this is breathe with this, and we'll I'll take, or whoever's going to do this can type this up and kind of put those elements on, maybe some of it's about the heart, put them in categories kind of, and I definitely want to get to, how do we want to communicate? Because that is really important. Do we want to communicate through email? I actually have a Global Heart Resonance page on Facebook that can be a closed group. And just because one of the things that we want to be able to do is, to, if Henry writes up something, or if he finds something that's very relevant, or any of us, we want to have a place where it's being kept so that we can access it. So I'm really not fond of Dropbox. That's me. Personally, me. One of the things about a Facebook closed group is you can have a chat, and you can also hold documents there, and they're accessible through Facebook, or we can just do it in email and have all access to a Google Drive. But before we just start jumping off, and I want to make sure that we feel really good about where this information is being held, so that we can use it and come back to it, or if somebody has a popping idea, it all gets held at one place. So,
and to where we're notified that there is this information. In other words, either a place we automatically go to, or we're notified that there's something important to.
Because right now we're only getting together once a month, and we may decide maybe we want to do for the next month or 2 months, or in March we want to do, meet a couple of times just to get the base down. So whatever, what's everybody's feelings?
I don't have a huge preference. Oh, go ahead.
I like the idea of having a space that we can write and express, and it is something that needs to be shared or documented, but have no clue what would work. So yeah, maybe Facebook or Google as Drive, as you said. Yeah.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm happy. The Facebook private page, or either one works. I just want to make sure that it's one form of communication, because that's where it gets complicated. If someone then starts emailing me too, and then they might text, or that gets really confusing really fast. So if we have one way of communicating, I think it would be just much, much better. And I'm not so fussy about which way, but
okay.
But although Facebook, something like that allows you to do documents and stuff a lot easier than other forms.
We can add documents. Go ahead, Henry.
I just wanted to add a couple of words that are on top related to so also the thing about safety. Will
you hold on 1 minute and let us just get this, so that just
okay.
Hold it. Let us just make a decision, because this is essential. Just hold on 1 second.
Okay. Well, that sounds good to me. Facebook.
Okay. Facebook.
Well, let's do the Facebook page. And is there anybody who doesn't feel good about the Facebook page?
Are you okay, June? Because with the Facebook page?
Yeah, just tell me how that works.
Okay.
Now,
Okay, so I'm gonna just go down. I mean, I've been wondering what to do with this. I have the global heart resonance. It's global heart resonance. It's not being used. I don't even know if I've even publicized it. So what I'll do is I will make that our working space, and it will be a place where if you find a document, you can just say, "Hey guys," and everybody will know how to access it, and I'll just add us into this. Nobody in it right now, I don't think. So I'll just add us. It's our resonance page, because I was thinking of the Monday morning heart resonance, but there's too many other people already in there, even though we're not really using it. So let's use that. I will send out an email, and you'll have really specific explanation of how, with the link, how to get to it. I'll add you in, and that's it. It's just let's just use it specifically to grow this. Okay, so Henry, go ahead. We have 4 more minutes.
Okay, so other words, kind of part of our collection, kind of honoring and respecting or celebrating each person. Perhaps that's going into honoring diversity or our uniqueness. Another word that wasn't added, but it's one we use a lot, is the we space. And certainly we didn't have the word yet of coherence. So these are other ones. So that's all for now. If I have others, I'll share on the Facebook page.
Perfect. Yeah.
And I would add, Shelley, to that what I said about now with what Henry said. Following your heart is like really maybe honoring the awareness of your heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we come together, we'll refine we'll refine.
Okay, that is good. And I want to know about Wednesday. Which Wednesday would that be?
Okay,
The one that
we're off.
talk about this strategy?
Don't get off the phone. I'll explain that. Anyone who wants to know about Wednesday, but right now let's stay where we are because we're in this amazing space. And I'll stay on, Naheed, to talk to you for a couple extra minutes about that. So let's just take the last 3 minutes and just be in this yummy place of loving resonance.
Sorry, but before we go into that, because I really like this is like the lowest, this is the lowest piece of fruit I need is next week is my week to present the heart resonance. It's my so I just want to know what is my topic that I should be focusing on, Okay. So is it flow? Are we building on flow or?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, this is perfect. So next week is it that the first week in March? Oh no, we're in February.
It's the second week of February.
Okay, sorry.
Love.
Okay, hold on.
Do we have a calendar for that? I was not aware of it.
Whoa. Let's just
No, we don't.
Michelle's putting forth a question, but let's ask. This is another one of the words or practice. Let's stop our minds and ask the field, honestly, for real, the intelligence of the field, and maybe we need the rest of the month being like about the field or simply about pieces of of resonance. Like, let's go back to basic here instead of going off, but let's, the flow was perfect because it was a Chinese New Year and everything like that. And it's beautiful. So let's just, number one, just come into presence. And maybe it's about presence. And Michelle, this is your week. So, we haven't landed these themes yet. So in feeling into the field, what is the most essential elements? Maybe it's what is the essential elements of resonance or the field but but I don't want us to feel pressured. I just want it to be like all these words have come forward.
Mm. Mm.
And maybe it's education of the heart. Maybe just come all the way back. So are we all willing to let Michelle come up with this topic? Because I feel like we're here, and what's ever going to come out of you without pressuring on this call is going to be absolutely right. And we'll follow the lead until we come together in March, and then we'll I think by then 3 weeks we'll have the kind of the layering of the topics. But for right now, not a pressure, but let's bring it all the way back home for people. You know, so it is about.
Yeah, we have to trust the field. We'll trust. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe that's the topic. Honestly, I don't know. But we'll leave it up to you. Everyone agree? Are we all in agreement? Michelle's going to pull that perfect topic. Okay. Woo! Perfect. So, who would like to close us?
I just want to hug you all. So I just want to close my eyes and hug you.
Okay, well, this is the closing, the internal hug, the hug of life, the hug of love.
Yummy.
Gratitude.
Gratitude. Love you all.
Stay 2 minutes with me, my love. I need to leave as well. Yes.
Yes, I will. Okay.